Hey everyone, welcome to Pearls of Eden. Thank you for joining me. Today I have a powerful word that I pray will bless you. This is a word for the Esthers to arise. We are in the month of July. We are pressing in. We are intently seeking our God. And in this month of July, it is a time of consecration. It's a time for pressing in, praying, fasting. And the Lord brought me to Esther chapter 4. Child of God, do you know that we children of God, God designs us to be born in the families that we are born in. He designs us to be at the workplaces that we are at. Everything is aligned to his purposes for those who serve the living God. And so we are to be a light, and God may have placed you just where you are for such a time as this. Maybe he placed you in this particular nation for such a time as this. And you cannot afford to be silent, because in the month of July, we are pressing in, we are moving forward, and we will be coming out of this month of July better, stronger, more powerful, with authority, doing the Father's business. We are about our Father's business. So when the Lord brought me here to Esther, it's one of my favorite books in the Bible, if not the favorite. And I began to ask the Lord, what is it that he wanted to show me? But personally, the book of Esther means so much to me. And he began to show me how we have to be intercessors for those around us. We cannot think that because this doesn't affect us, that we can somehow just, let things go. We have to be intercessors. We have to intercede for the people around us. And that's what Esther did. When she just about thought that she could just kind of hide in the palace and kind of just, let everything just go the way it was going, her father, Mordecai, he was a father to her, because as you all know, Esther's parents died when she was young. So Mordecai had to remind her of who she was, and that not for her to think that because she was sitting high in the palace, that this trial, this test would escape her. Because if she didn't use the voice that she had, Mordecai reminded her that this would happen, that God would arise someone else to be a deliverer for the Jews. So child of God, wherever God has positioned you and unctioned you to speak, you cannot afford to stay silent. And I love that Esther had people around her, namely Mordecai, to remind her of who she was, and that she was maybe brought into the palace, brought into the kingdom for such a time as this. And so, Esther says, I will go before the king, even though it's illegal, because you could not just show up in front of the king's court. You had to be invited. And she had not seen her husband, the king, within 30 days. There was something going on there, right? And so she says, if I step before him, that means that I am basically walking into a death sentence, unless the king finds favor in me and he extends the royal golden scepter. But Esther says, nevertheless, I will go before him, and if I perish, I perish. We're talking about a woman who was bold. We're talking about a woman who was courageous. We're talking about a woman who knew who she served. And remember, in this season, God's people, we are going to do great exploits, those who know their God. And so I'm here just really to stir you up and to encourage you. And Esther had this request. She said, before I go before the king and risk my life, I need for everyone in Susan, all the Jews, I need for them to fast. I need for them to pray. I need them to do so without water, without nothing, just a dry fast for 3 days. And then I will go before the king. And if I perish, I perish. And I want to tell you something, children of God. The boldness and the courage that she had to go in before the king. The Bible teaches us that after she fasted, after she prayed, after she interceded for her brethren, she put on her royal apparel. She got all dressed up, dolled up. She knew who she was. She didn't have to have anybody else to remind her of who she was. She knew that she was ready to go before the king. And she went And the Bible tells us that when the king saw her, that she found favor with him, and he extended the golden scepter. And he says, what do you want? Up to half of my kingdom, it is yours. And that was the beginning of great reversals. In this season, we have to press in and go before the King of Kings. And once you've prayed, and once you've fasted, and once you've interceded, then it is time to go into the inner court before the Father. And God willing, you will find favor before the King of Kings. So remember, this is just a reminder, in the month of July, we are pressing in, not only for ourselves, but for our family, for our nation, for our friends and those around us. Reach out to people and say, what is it that I can pray for you? How can I intercede for you? How can I lift you up before the Father? Because we are better together. And I love how Esther realized that it wasn't just, her brethren, that were on the chopping block, but everything that they were about to face, everything that was affecting them, it affected her, even though she was in the palace, right? Even though she was kind of like withdrawn and isolated from what was going on in the world. The Lord sent conviction her way because he had placed her in that palace for a time to make powerful moves, to be a great influence. And she did that. And it was a time of great reversal. So I love the book of Esther because it's so powerful. And we have to understand that, when God is for us, no one can be against us. And in this season, we are ruling, we are reigning in the midst of our enemies, but we have to make sure that we are doing our part of seeking the Father. So this was a quick word today. I'm going to stop right here, but I wanted to make sure that I shared it with you. I pray that you all have a blessed Monday. Go forth, doing great things, being a light to others, and being an intercessor, standing in the gap. All right, guys, I love you. Bye.